Hello, and thanks for joining us on Public Conscience on Radio, the anti-corruption program that is produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. PRIMOG is a civil society group with the mandate to promote good governance, participation, and accountability in Nigeria. I'm Okiri Agbonsuremi. As usual, I have Adaobi Obiabumo with me.
Welcome to the program. On Public Conscience on Radio, we seek to evolve a corruption-free society through the amplification of corruption stories reported by our partner media organizations and drawing government and citizens for democratic actions against it. We are supported by the MacArthur Foundation.
Today, we will be examining the use of government financial platforms to ensure transparency in government spendings.
Two platforms have become popular recently. The Nigeria Open Contracting Portal known as NOCOPO, maintained by the Bureau of Public Procurement, and the Nigeria Open Treasury Portal, maintained by the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation.
Both portals were set up by the government to provide an interface opportunity with members of the public to demonstrate a measure of accountability in governance in Nigeria.
And we have two strong minds behind the search and curation of accountability in governance in Nigeria through the use of data and analysis right here in the studios with us.
They are Joshua Olufemi, founder of DATAPHYTE, and his colleague Paul Adeyeye. We shall be examining how to use these government portals, the advantages and the challenges of getting the facts together in the search for corruption in the uploads of financial activities by government MDAs.
Remember that you can follow us on our social media platforms at Official PRIMOG. PRIMOG is spelled PRIMORG. We are streaming live on Facebook at Official PRIMOG. You can watch our videos on PRIMOG TV, our YouTube channel. We want to encourage you to subscribe to get reminders whenever we have a new post. And you can also send us a message on our WhatsApp number, which is 0902 265 6167. The number is 0902 265 6167.
Please begin to send your messages to the number now. We will get them included in the conversation as we go on. We know that the topic is very, very technical. Looking for corruption inside data supplied by the government and using the platforms that we are going to be examining. But there are so many bright minds out there amongst you listening to us. Nigerians are very, very intelligent. The whole essence of this program is to draw your attention to that opportunity that's available. That in your bedroom, you can log on to a platform to find out who is doing government job. How is the award? How are the contracts awarded? Because you can know that through the number of filing in by the MDAs, contracts awarded to who, how much, and what did they buy. And we can begin to raise queries, raise questions. Because our citizens, as we always say on this program, if we do not participate in governance, then we let the government, those who we have elected, and the civil servants run the show. And whatever thing we get is what we have. Now let's turn to our guests. Like I told you, Mr. Joshua Olufemi is riding here behind the DATAPHYTE. We as an organization, PRIMOG, we have benefited from DATAPHYTE because we have also taken some of the trainings they have conducted to enable us understand how to search for government activities inside the data that they provide on the platforms. Tell us what DATAPHYTE is all about, your organization.
Okay, thank you. DATAPHYTE is a data as a service company and is a program of the Interactive Initiative for Social Impact, generally called the Interactive. And behind DATAPHYTE's establishment is the challenges that we see that journalists and civil society face in Nigeria in using data to demand accountability or, do advocacy that is necessary for development. And so we set out to, provide data for citizens, journalists, and civil society to do their work, and also to then provide insight and, if you like, intelligence for policymakers and every other person in the supply and demand side of governance to be able to make the right decisions. So in just one sentence, you can say DATAPHYTE is set up to provide data service and support and technical training for citizens and various segments of the country.
Of course, for those who don't know, Mr. Alufemi is we call him a data journalist. He can't run away from that. He was with Premium Times. If you read his profile, you know that he has worked on data for such a long time, helping Premium Times to set up most of those things that we now all enjoy in that platform. But he's on his own at DATAPHYTE. But let me turn to Paul, his colleague. What is the importance of data in governance?
Data is essentially important for planning. Planning cannot is always good to be predicated on data. Without adequate data, planning won't meet the true needs for which it is designed. And that thing is, data is useful in policy making. It helps the whole course of policy, and it ensures that policy impacts the people that they are made for.
Like you said, data is essential for planning. Now, what is the value of these government portals in tracking corruption? We know we have the NOCOPO and the Open Treasury portal. What is the value of these government portals in tracking corruption? So
the first thing it does is it's an accountability and transparency portal. So it first tells us how government, is going about its financial activities and every other kind of budgeting and procurement related work. Now, the importance first is it helps citizens to know how government is using their resources, because it's the resources of the citizens, to run, their own affairs, and also to provide the necessary services that they require. So first is that level of importance that it has. The other is, like you rightly mentioned during the introduction, is also to then, ensure or promote anti-corruption. When you know that every, procurement, every transaction, contract that you do can be tracked, and you can be seen by almost 200 million Nigerians, and they can then use that to ask questions. So it becomes a tool for accountability. It becomes an anti-corruption tool. And it's also a platform to help citizens to also take action. Now, if I know that XYZ project has been contracted to ABC contractor in my local government or just by my street, it's easier for me to keep going there every morning and be looking for progress. And when there is none, I can, ask questions, demand, and engage, essentially. So primarily, it's a transparency tool, it's an anti-corruption tool, and it's a civic engagement, citizen, participation, call it tool again, for work. But more importantly, is also a platform for the anti-corruption agencies of government. So unfortunate we have what we were having for the EFCC. But I mean, if you see the kind of work that has been done using such portal by the ICPC in the last 2 to 3 years, you will see how much important it's also an evidence platform for anti-corruption agencies to also do their job. Because if the ICPC can see what the MDA probably in Ebonyi or in Maiduguri is doing or has contracted out, it's easier for them to take those information or that data and then go to do monitoring and probably assessment, and then they can call whichever defaulting party, whether the MDA or the contractors, to question or for inquiry or for investigation. And that's so it empowers governance, and it also engages. So it's useful for both the demand and supply side.
Many of those who are listening to us probably would not even understand the platform that we are talking about.
Right.
Tell us about the Open Treasury platform portal, and then the NOCOPO portal. What are these portals? Let the ordinary person listening out there understand what we're even talking about.
Okay, so the Open Treasury portal is an initiative of the federal government, being implemented by the Accountant General Office. And what the portal does is to present the daily transactions of all the federal ministries, departments, and agencies of government. So if you have, I think we have over 400 ministries, departments, and agencies.
Over 800.
So you have
as at the time Oroshaye worked on it to reduce it, they were already 700.
Right.
They have gone up now. So we have many of them.
Right. So that platform is a place where every payment that they make to contractors, even their salaries and all of those information are supposed to be uploaded daily. So that's one.
So an MDA gives out a job.
Right.
In letting the people know what what jobs they have given now. Let us just use the one that everybody is familiar with now, the Ministry of Health,
right.
and then maybe the Presidential Task Force,
right.
who are spending on COVID-19.
Interesting.
Yeah, they go to that platform to upload. We have bought 200 PPEs at so amount supplied by so contractor. These PPEs were manufactured by so person or by so company at so price, and this is how we got it. And they are supposed to upload all these details on those portals.
Now, what you've just described now is what will be uploaded on the Nocopo portal,
okay,
which is the procurement component of the work. What did we plan to buy? How much did we buy it? Who did we give the contract to? What would they supply? In detail, providing detailed information about it. When were they contracted? When were they? What is the duration of maybe delivery or on the project? That's what you get on Nocopo.
Are they supposed to upload this information
all of
before or after they have procured?
So it's a process. So when the planning was made, you're supposed to upload it. When the bidding is done, you update. You update. When you contract, you update. So even from the moment of your tender, you upload. So you can see the progress of a project, right? But because of the emergency situation that COVID-19 has, you can even go through the whole process at once and then upload the full information after contracting. So what you have mostly on Nocopo is who, what, how they are going to do it, and how much the person implementing will pay. Now, at the moment where you make the payment, that payment information, who you paid it to, what it is meant for, is what you then pull on the Open Treasury portal. So they are like complementary platform. One is for procurement information, which is purchasing. The other is for payment information. So they complement each other, and that's the whole process. So for a journalist or for a civil society person, you may see on the Nocopo portal that this contract is supposed to be done and supposed to end on so date. And what you see is when you go out and you say, oh, this thing has not been done, the contractors tell you we've not been paid.
Okay.
So
right.
So
you then can go to Open Treasury portal
to find out
that project or that contractor, see if they've also been paid or not, and then you can use that to complement. But outside of even the general procurement that can be on the open payment that can be on the Open Treasury portal, you can also then have all that payment activities of each MDA, on the portal. So when they pay their salaries, that information is supposed to be there.
Is it on the Open Treasury now?
On the Open Treasury portal. So always see Open Treasury portal as payment information portal, transaction information portal, while Nocopo is procurement information portal. So when money leaves the account of government to a third party or even its own,
it's uploaded at the Open Treasury.
It should be on the Open Treasury portal, and it should be daily.
Now, you have just answered. Let me go get to Paul now to ask him the next question. How much knowledge do we have about these portals, and how are they being used?
The level of awareness about data in Nigeria is still very low, and that's one of the things we do at DATAPHYTE. We try to generate attention to the data, the essential data in the country. For example, sometimes we, at a point in May, we reported on wage injustice in Nigeria, that some government agencies are being paid too much relative to the minimum wage. So we try to generate attention, but overall, the thing is, many Nigerians are still not so aware of these data portals and what they can do with it.
Are the NGOs aware? You are doing a lot of.
We are doing a lot of work, and some other CSOs are also doing a lot of work. But many NGOs are getting aware about this data platform, and they are integrating it into the course of the work. And that's one of the essential things we do at DATAPHYTE, to interface these data platforms with the NGOs and civic society groups.
Is this too technical for the ordinary citizen to use? Is it really technical for the ordinary citizen to use?
No, it is not. It is not. It's just like you buying something as simple as going to a shop to buy something. It's just easy, and the data is simple to use. And very simple to use. It's not that difficult.
So you have the websites, you just log to those websites and you are there.
Yes.
Right? The information is there for you.
Yes.
Now, let me come to Joshua. How much of the activities, the uploading, the population of the content of the data do we really see from? Because these are not new platforms.
No, they aren't.
They are old platforms.
Yeah.
From what your own experience, because I believe you visit there almost every day. Now, from your experience, what is the rate of of compliance from the MDAs? Is there any law that says they must do it?
So there's a guideline. It's part of the financial, propriety, I would say framework for every MDA in Nigeria to publish its information. And also because government has also subscribed to the Open Government Partnership Initiative, which also ensures that, financial, budgeting and procurement and just the general activities of government, information around it should be made available to citizens, not only, in a proactive manner, meaning before they are requested for, that this information, every data that government generates, they generate it from, first by collecting it from citizens. And so you should be able to give them back. So that's one way to look at. And now if you look at all the MDAs, you don't have all of them on the portal at the moment. I think you have the key, MDAs uploading their data on the portal.
I don't know, but all the MDAs are spending money.
And thank you very much.
They are supposed to upload.
They are all supposed to upload, and that is where some level of sanction should come in. I think at the interface level of the Accountant General, that is one thing that they should ensure that is happening. And you will see the drama that happened between the Accountant General's office and EDA Resource Center and our organization, where we requested for further details, because you go to the platform, you see millions of naira written as paid out on so date, and there's blank description. So you're wondering, what is this payment for?
We have also visited some of the, was it in the Nokopo platform we visited, and we saw some descriptions, because that's a procurement platform.
Right.
You go to the Nokopo platform, you see 200 PPEs, no description. Nobody knows, because if you buy, for instance, ventilators, and you say it's 200, ventilators cost range between 2,500 and 25,000. So which one? Will you just say we bought 25 pieces of ventilators? We don't know the description. Which one did you buy?
Absolutely.
And there is also the question of unit price.
Thank you. That
If
is
we
not
know
there.
It's not there.
Right.
Then some of the uploads, there's no location. We bought XYZ. Where did you take them to? It's not on the platform.
Right. So I believe that this is part of what the civil society and media should always highlight, because it's also work in progress. It's not as if every procurement officer in the Nigerian civil service were trained on how to do these things 5 years ago, right? So sometimes it's not so intentional that they don't want to
lack
describe.
lack of knowledge,
or
people just afraid of figures,
or capacity, or just even the because the process is also not totally they are not linked, because from the point of tender, where you will have listed what you want to do, in details, how many you want to buy, what specification, all of that should be on the portal, so that even if at the point where you are saying PPE, you can make reference back to the tender document and read the full detail what PPE means, whether it means power must change hand, or whether it means PPE. You can think that everybody understands, or at some point you just put the image of what you're explaining, and like you mentioned, location, where is it going to? And that's one of the challenges that journalists have. I'll give you an experience that we had when we first engaged the Nokopo portal. We saw a lot of data there, and we did initial analysis and found that almost over half of the contractors were not on their compliant with the government contractors requirement. And this was contract worth billions. But we had to pull the story down, because we then realized that there was a database problem, and some of these people too, the information we had on them were not correct. Now we took another 1 month going to the field and now doing more detail, and that's because the information was not rightly there. Normally, if MDA is working with a contractor, you should also let us know compliant, non-compliant, and that should be part of
But who should actually be the big brother? Who is the class monitor here? Who should stand there to insist that things are done correctly?
First is the Bureau of Public Procurement, because for every procurement that is done, you're supposed to get at least, I think above 5 million naira, or there's a threshold, 100 million. You're supposed to get a certificate of no objection, which means everything that you want to do is who you want to pay, who you want to contract. We have certified them, and now you can go ahead.
Except it is direct contracting under emergency.
Or emergency, which is now the challenge we are having under COVID. Yeah. But also that already provided like guideline, and the guideline says even under emergency, you must ensure that your contractor is a registered and compliant a contractor with the federal government portal. And there's a place where it's still at the end the work of the Bureau of Public Procurement to sanction and then scale it up. There's what a class monitor would do, using your analogy. There's what the class teacher would do at the end of the day. So when the BPP flags it, then it remains the work of the EFCC, the ICPC, and other agencies to now say, okay, you flag these problems. We will follow to ensure that whether we do recovery for what cannot be, what has already been taken, or we ensure compliance or full delivery of goods, works, or services that are supposed to be delivered to government. So you have that, framework of accountability that government itself can provide. But you see that, like I mentioned before, the capacity of even some of our, anti-corruption officers is not so much good. You were asking the other time, my colleague, how easy it is to use the portal. It's as easy as press download the document and then perform a basic operation on it, and then you can see the what of the information that you need. But how many of these officers are trained to do these things, and how many of the of the MDAs also are doing this thing maybe as disregard for the law, or just because they don't have capacity to do the right thing?
Okay. DATAPHYTE has been offering series of trainings to CSOs, which Primark has also benefited from, on the use of these platforms. How has this affected the fight against corruption?
Advocacy works in the long run. In the short run, it is sometimes difficult to measure the impact of advocacy. Yeah. But sometimes, again, too, we see immediate results of advocacy. For example, on some of our work, we've seen government reaction on some of our work. For instance, when we did work on wage injustice, the minister made a statement that it will be investigated, and that's one of the impacts. Other things is that, another thing is that when we inform civil societies and journalists, they also incorporate that into the course of work, and I think there's a way it drops on the policy process. But advocacy works in the long run. It may not be so easy to calculate the immediate impact.
Now, Joshua, do we have a interest at the level of the media in this kind of data journalism in Nigeria? How will you measure the kind of interest? Because what we see daily is the president's wife said, the president said, the governor said, Ganduje said, Wike said. How much interest do we have to go beyond these political things and go into this development thing that will actually help deepen the roots of our democratic processes and accountability? Are we in the media space?
We having what I would say increasing interest. I can remember when we started this thing 5 years ago, and people would be like, this is for statistics students. This is for economists. This is for mathematicians, and not and the rest. But if you see in that, say 3-4 years down the line, you have organizations who have like a mini data journalism desk. The likes of Premium Times, the likes of Daily Trust, the likes of Cable, ICIR, they now have, it's like part of their DNA. But I would say that
we're also developing our platform at Primark,
and we'll be glad to.
Thanks to you for the free training.
We'll be glad to mentor the organization through this, and that's part of the thing that we are set up to do, to ensure that we increase the interest and stay true that process for any organization that is interested in doing this. We already have support to build, at least to mentor or help establish data journalism desks for 3 media organizations in Nigeria, and we are ready to even go beyond what we have support to do. But I would say overall, I think the interest is there. The young folks, the new entrants into the profession are more, as a matter of fact,
more enthusiastic.
Almost everybody I see their profile online, everybody says I'm a data journalist. I'm like, interesting. So you see that, and that's aspirational, and that's where it starts from. Because when you call yourself by name, it means that you have to live up to the standard, and you want to be able to ensure that you do that. So the interest is there. Almost every other month you will see Daily Trust come out with a map or a chart as on the front page, and that's a fantastic way to see that it's becoming the everyday thing. But more importantly, I think we have to scale it up. We have to make sure that at the editor level, at the management level, the awareness is there, and there should be less fear to think you need to spend so much money. The same research process that a story takes is the same research process that data journalism takes. The difference is just the tool and the technology that you deploy. And most of these things are open source, which means you probably don't even need to pay. I would say like 80% of the tools we use are open source. we rarely pay for them. It's only when we go, at the higher level
that you make some payment.
But so it's that easy, and I would like to say to every media person to say, take that leap, because it's evidence based. You don't need to say somebody said, and somebody said.
Yeah, they are just there.
The data is right there. So if you say on the portal of the Open Treasury portal, X amount of money is not disclosed.
It's self-authenticating.
You just have to go back, or you can even upload the data, let everybody see. They don't need to go, running the auto-scatter to confirm. So because the fact that it's...
And you can see the comfort of your house. You don't need transportation. You don't need to say...
At many times, you really don't need to do, except you want to now, do more investigative, go, do like field, go to the field to now ensure. But otherwise, you can do, especially at the level of information and education, which is part of the purpose of journalism, you can do that very well with data. I mean, I'm worried. I'm totally worried, and I think it's sad for the journalism in Nigeria that the NNPC audit report has been held for over a month, or almost a month, and there's all we see is what we've learned from the audit report, which is just what the NNPC has said. And that document has already told us that these folks, wasted Nigeria's taxpayers' money, running something that is moribund. And all you need to do is...
Nobody is digging in.
Because you need some data capacity.
Yeah.
And at some other point, I think just to say, the only other way that journalism can, warm up to data journalism is to also come together in collaboration. If DATAPHYTE, or ICIR has the capacity to crunch the data, let them crunch the data, put it in the hands of every other person, and then we do. Out, yeah. So you don't do
advocacy with it and every other thing.
COVID has shown us that competition will crush us. Collaboration is the way to go. We have to come together and borrow everybody's skill, let everybody's skill set matter, and let us even use a louder voice. To amplify the issues and to give voice to the voiceless in the country.
Well, the discussion, the interaction, and the conversation is continuing, and we will continue to engage with Joshua and Paul in the studio. They are from DATAPHYTE, and we'll also allow you in now, as usual. The program is not complete if your input is not into it, and that is why we always create this to enable you to interact with us. Like I said earlier, many Nigerians are very intelligent. We don't take anybody for granted. They understand. We'll also be telling you how to reach these portals. Joshua and Paul will provide us the link to those platforms shortly, and we'll be able to get the information that we need, so that if right where you are, we'll tell you where to go. How do you go to that place? What is the web name? What is the site name that you can go into? So that from today, all of us begin to do data journalism and churn out the facts. Some of those falsehoods that you see on social media, we can correct them by actually going to the source to get the information.
There is a saying that in a democracy, the highest office is the office of the citizen.
It is possible to find from the platforms created by the government what's actually wrong. Because so many times we have said government is secret. And for the first time, we are seeing over a period of time, the last 2, 3, 4 years, we have seen platforms set up by the government to say this contractor is the one supplying this. This contractor is paying this. We are going to pay this contractor this amount. We are going to do this. We are going to do that. And those platforms are open. We are just generally nonchalant about it, or it has a taint of some laziness. We don't even want to. We just complain without looking deep into it. That's why we are raising this issue. This is why DATAPHYTE is in existence. It's a company that relishes on using this data to assist Nigerians to get information. If you have gone to those platforms, let us know if you have gone there. And I believe we can just ask my guests in the studio to lead us to those platforms. How do we get to these two platforms?
For the procurement information,
That's the Nocopo.
the Nocopo portal is just nocopo.bpp.gov, which is gov.ng, which is NOCOPO, nocopo.bpp, standing for Bureau of Public Procurement, .gov.ng. And if you get there, you can, if you're looking for specifically for COVID-19 emergency procurement, you just see it on the tab and you can go there and see the detail. And it's so easy to download or to scrape. For the Open Treasury portal, it is just opentreasury.gov.ng. Which is,
I want to take that again.
opentreasury.gov.ng, which is open in that simple word, then treasury, which is together, one word, opentreasury.gov.ng. I mean, even if you just put it on Google and say Open Treasury portal, it will lead you there. And even if you just type Nocopo too, and it will just lead you there as just a search word. But those are the two major platforms.
Now, I actually wanted to ask Paul if there were other platforms, and if these platforms are not just federal government-owned platforms, because I think it was Joshua that was talking about if you are in Meduguri or you are anywhere where the MDAs are working, and it could give the impression that even the states key to. Now, first of all, how widely used are these this platform by? Are they in the states, for instance? If you want to go to see what Obaseki, who is contesting election in those states now, the contracts he has awarded out, and you definitely will not find them on this platform. These are federal government platforms.
Yes, sir.
So, what happens in the state? What happens?
There are some other platforms that are run by civil society that collates data. DATAPHYTE has one platform like that. We have the data platform for our work.
And one of the things that we try to also do is
the budget.
The budget data, the audit data, the procurement data of some of these states that have already published those things. One thing we take as key for us, activity for us, is most of this budget data. When you go to the website of state government, they are in PDF format that are difficult to manipulate or to work with. One thing we do is to liberate it, kind of convert it to easy to use and machine readable format, so that journalists, civil society persons can just download it as a spreadsheet or as an Excel and then look for whatever they are looking for there. But like you mentioned, for state level accountability work, you can start, there's still low level of transparency, but you can start with just going to their budget and planning website or their main state website, and the little that they publish there is one way.
I have gone to some of these platforms that my brother has just talked. I just logged into one. The truth is that, let us tell ourselves the truth. Most of these platforms, when you go there, they will try to promote themselves. Sometimes they will not talk the real thing. They always say something that will attract the government and make government to give them projects or to appreciate them. But in time of truly to see something and say something, my brother, which is one of the major campaign of APC and whistleblower, whenever you see something on that platform and try to risk yourself to go deeply about it, my brother, you'll be risk of intimidation. And some of those things are the issues you're having. Not about the platform is okay, they bring the real things, but sometimes when you yourself come out to protest on this issue, because I have a case of when somebody give a project in my community and I happen to say, okay, this I don't like what somebody went and call police for me. Because I don't have a godfather, I don't have money then, and I kept quiet. So those are the things that is wrong in this country, and whenever we're able to correct it, and whenever we forget godfatherism and all this kind of thing, and say something and say something, you see the world will be a global war for all of us. So the platform is okay, but sometimes some of the things there are fabricated fallacies. Some, I didn't say all, some. So I don't.
All right, thank you very much. You have given us a lot of things to talk about. Whether there's a risk to go into those platforms. I was wondering whether there's actually any risk going to those platforms. Journalists go to those platforms. Most of the stories you see, you read, particularly from these media houses, particularly the new media, Premium Times, ICI, Arrow, and all this, some of them are from these platforms. And I also know, Joshua, I also know that the BPP
Right.
has used this platform,
Right.
giving information to ICPC to further investigation. So,
Absolutely.
are there people who have complained about the risk to going to these sites and coming up with information about them?
Maybe at the level of demanding accountability.
Yes,
or
using
the
it for advocacy.
Using it for advocacy, you can then have different forms of intimidation or even misinformation from government, like what the Accountant General was trying to do when he would rather spend $500,000
on advertising,
rather than responding. So you have such kind of maybe risk to your character, risk to your credibility and all of that. But in just accessing the data, I don't think that you have any risk. I mean even BPP was even put at risk last week when his portal was even hacked by some unserious element in society, and I thought that was uncalled for, because if a platform is supposed to help citizens to demand accountability, I don't think such a platform is where you want to bring down for any purpose or reason that's.
And in any case, bringing it down does not solve your problem.
It doesn't,
because they will come up and continue with the work anyway.
Absolutely.
So Paul, you were going to give us some of the platforms that citizens can access.
The website is budeshi.ng. That's budeshi.ng. There's another one called Udeme.
Your name and where you are calling from, sir?
Okay, I'm Odibo. I'm calling from Jabalada.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Please. I want to divert the date of what you are saying now for our own good. Please, I'm giving you an assignment. Can we go into structuring our constitution, making these discussions for a day? It will help us to solve all these problems we are running now. I beg, please.
If we restructure our constitution, this data we are looking at, we will throw it away, or what do we do with it?
No, when we are restructuring our constitution, we now bring in all these lacunas joined together. The constitution will help us to eliminate all the
so you don't believe that this data that can solve our problem. We need to restructure Nigeria to get the problem solved.
No. Because if we restructure our constitution, it will start from the grassroots, from primary level to secondary level and all that. We put it in our educational curriculum and all that.
Thank you very much. Hello, I'm hearing you. Your name, where you are calling from?
My name is Fulari. I'm calling from Central area.
Fulari, go ahead.
I just wanted to commend your efforts and say thank you for bringing awareness to particularly the open government portal. It helps when it comes to transparency and accountability, and I hope that more people with this program will go onto the platform and see what Nigeria's money is being spent on. But for me, I think the main issue I just want to talk about is, what is the value add to Nigerians by saying, we are seeing all these numbers, we are seeing that contractors are getting these amounts and things like that. I think that is where some of the lackadaisical attitude of Nigerians may come in, because, okay, we are seeing these numbers on paper, this person got this amount. When they are infractions, what are the consequences of these infractions? Are we seeing people being held up and saying, okay, you should have done this, but you did this, and being punished for it? Also, the real question is, when are we going to get value for these means? They are very good means. I'm not against them. It's a good step in the right direction, having transparency and accountability. Now we can fix things, but we need to move to the next step now. When there are infractions, people need to get punished. So those are the things that just went into my life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and that's also very, very important, because we did ask just now the compliance level, who is the class monitor, who says you must do it, and if you don't do it, that's exactly where the last caller is concerned with. There's platform very good. Can we go higher? Can we go beyond the existence of the platform and begin to use it and punish those who do not obey?
And another way that you can encourage citizens to even use it is when government, for instance, recover loots or you do this kind of sanctions, you also want to publish them. I think that was one of the challenges people had with the EFCC chairman. About you keep saying you have recovered X billion of naira,
and we don't know where,
and we don't even know from who and where it is. And so at some other level, the ICPC, great work that they are doing, but sometimes we want the names, and the other information about how far you have gone.
These portals were created by the government to create accountability, to promote transparency. The two portals are the Open Treasury portals and the Nokopo portals run by the DPP. The other one is run by the Attorney General's office. Like where we have our guests, they have explained that one of the portals flow into the other. One is where you have the procurement, and the other one is financial dealings portal. We are asking citizens to take advantage of them, and that we can actually tell citizens again the websites Open Treasury. Just ask Open Treasury, opentreasury.gov.ng,
and the Nokopo is nokopo.bpp.gov.ng.
How do we spell Nokopo?
NOCOPO.bpp.gov.ng.
You pronounce PPP like a political party. nokopo.bpp.gov.ng. Those two platforms are there for all citizens, over 200 million of us to make use of, find out what is happening. Let us get the last take from our guest just before we go. Tell us your general assessment. Tell us the way forward. What are you seeing in future about the use of these platforms?
Can only get better for even government in terms of openness and accountability effort. I want to encourage all accountability agencies in the country to also take advantage of what the media is reporting, what the civil society is reporting. Find more reasons to collaborate rather than waiting for them to reach out or even call you out before you do your job. And I want to also say that civil society organizations and the media need to begin to look for the right capacity and tools to be able to better appreciate and use these platforms for their own work. The more capacity to interpret data, to analyze data, and even turn it into simple information for general citizens, the better for us. And above that is also to always find ways to support government too, not always just want to antagonize. You can put them in the spotlight, but you can also help them, encourage them to do the right thing. I think it can only get better. I think the more citizens also are aware about this platform, which is another responsibility of the media and civil society, to say, do you know that there's this portal where you can get information? Can we also break it down for them? And I also think we need to go to the subnational level too. We have 36 federating states, and it's more than just one.
Abuja is even included.
And the FCT, and that's even much more grassroots level. We have 744 local government. That's even more grassroots. That's where the accountability should be looking at the moment.
Paul?
Yeah, we need to work more at the subnational levels, and we need to commit more resources to data management in the country. Mm-hmm. Citizens also should take time to always go through government portals and see where they can even get other information about government activity. For example, the National Bureau of Statistics has a lot of data that can be very useful to the citizens. For example, federal allocations. Citizens should regularly engage the government platforms and other platforms to get the data they need. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we just need to go now. We cannot thank you enough for coming, and for those who are listening to us, we want to appreciate you out there.
Please visit the news page of our website, news.primorg.org. That is news.primorg.org for all the details of our reports and interviews. Visit our website, primorg.org, to get all the information about Primorg.
I want to appreciate Joshua Lufemi, founder of DATAPHYTE, and his colleague Paul Adeyeye for joining us on the program. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Public Conscience is supported by the John T. and K3 D. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. You can get more information about the MacArthur Foundation at this website, macfound.org.
Join us again next week for another interesting episode of Public Conscience on Radio. I am Adaobi Obiabumon.
And Okiri Agbonsu Remi, so many thanks. And remember that the COVID-19 is real. Run away from it by keeping to all the rules of engagement from the government agencies and the health ministry that says you should keep to the guidelines to be safe. Join us next week for another episode of Public Conscience.